What if I told you that most of your suffering isn't caused by your emotions, but by what you do with them? Not the feeling itself, but the suppression or the explosive reaction or the spiral of resistance that follows. What if the real power, the spiritual mastery, the quantum shift, comes from the third path almost no one teaches it? Transmutation, the ability to take raw emotional energy and alchemize it into clarity, wisdom, and power. Just like turning lead into gold. Except the lead is fear, anger, grief, and the gold is your next level. Welcome to Vortex Tribe, where we journey into the heart of consciousness, energy, and universal truths. Before we go deeper, here's something important. Most people think emotions and feelings are the same thing, but they're actually a little different. An emotion is your body's first reaction. It's quick, automatic, like a spark. Your heart beats faster, your stomach tightens, your muscles tense. A feeling is what happens after you notice the emotion. It's the story you tell yourself about what that spark means. It's how your mind describes the emotion in words like, I'm scared, I'm sad, I'm excited, or I'm angry. So think of it like this. Emotion is the lightning. Feeling is the thunder. They come from the same moment, but they are not the same thing. And when you understand that difference, you can start to choose what you do with your energy instead of being controlled by it. What's really going on? Eckhart Tolle teaches that emotion is the body's reaction to the mind, meaning the feeling rises because a story has been activated. Dr. Joe Dispenza says, emotions are energy in motion, chemical records of the past, meaning your emotions are old energetic programs rising up. They're signals from past experiences asking to be updated, released, or rewritten. Deepak Chopra has been known for saying, emotions are energy, and energy can neither be created nor destroyed, only transformed. Meaning, you can't erase emotion, but you can reshape it. Every feeling is fuel that can be turned into something higher. Alan Watts said, the only way to make sense out of change is to plunge into it, move with it, and join the dance. Meaning, transformation happens when you meet your emotions with openness. When you move with them, they turn into insight instead of pain. Gregg Braden reminds us, your heart field is 100 times stronger electrically and 5,000 times stronger magnetically than your brain. Meaning, emotions are literal fields of influence, shaping what you attract, what you notice, and how you respond to life. These teachers point to one universal truth. Emotion is not random. It's not weak. It's not something to fear or fight. Emotion is raw, powerful energy. And what you do with that energy determines your entire experience of life. And here's the part almost nobody is taught. The part that changes everything. You don't have to suppress it. You don't always have to express it. There is a third path, a higher path, a path of mastery, the path of emotional transmutation, the ability to take the energy that rises inside you and transform it into clarity, strength, intuition, and power. This is where the real magic begins. This is where the old self ends and the new self starts to emerge. And once you understand this, nothing in your life feels the same again. But let's be crystal clear here. Transmutation is not pretending you're fine. It's not forcing positivity. It's not jumping over the feeling. That is spiritual bypassing, skipping the emotion. Transmutation is the opposite. It's meeting the emotion directly, feeling the raw energy honestly, and then consciously choosing to lift it into something higher. It's alchemy. It's consciousness in motion. Suppressing, the silent destroyer. Suppression is the body storing emotional charge in the cells. It's the nervous system going into freeze. It's energy that becomes exhaustion, tension, shutdown, anxiety, depression, chronic looping, self-sabotage, survival mode. Tolle calls this the pain body, the accumulation of unfelt emotion. Dispenza calls it memorized energy, also known as memorized emotion stored in the body. Dr. Bessel van der Kolk, author of The Body Keeps the Score, shows that the body literally stores unprocessed emotional experiences in our muscles, nervous system, and brain, meaning suppressed emotion doesn't disappear, it waits. And as Dr. Bruce Lipton explains, most illness is just stress from not living in harmony. When emotional energy is ignored or pushed down, the body has no choice but to speak for us. Suppression is the worst option because it turns living energy into locked energy. And locked energy becomes the very weight that drags your life downward. When you suppress, you're not avoiding pain. You're planting it inside your body where it grows roots. It becomes tension in your shoulders, heaviness in your chest, knots in your stomach, fog in your mind, burnout in your spirit. It becomes the anger you can't control, the sadness you can't explain, the anxiety that hits out of nowhere. Suppression steals your energy, your clarity, your joy. It keeps you replaying old stories, old fears, old versions of yourself. And here's what most people never realize. Every time you push emotion down, you're telling your nervous system, this energy is not safe. That one decision trains your entire body to brace, to tighten, to freeze. Over time, you lose your ability to feel, to trust yourself, to respond with clarity. You get stuck living in survival mode instead of creation mode. This is why suppressed emotion becomes illness. This is why it becomes burnout. This is why it becomes self-sabotage. This is why people feel stuck in the same patterns for years, not because they're weak, not because they're broken, but because their body is holding what their heart never got to process. So yes, suppression might feel like holding it together, but inside, it's pulling you apart. It's costing you your energy, your creativity, your intuition, your freedom. Once you truly see what suppression does to your body, your mind, your life, you realize there is no more time to keep pushing things down. Not one more day, not one more moment. Something has to change. Now. Expressing. Better, but not always necessary. If suppression is the silent destroyer, expression is the first awakening. Carl Jung taught, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. And expression, true, conscious expression, is the moment the unconscious finally surfaces. It's the moment your inner world finds language, the moment your body exhales truth, the moment your nervous system loosens its grip, because it finally feels seen. Dr. Dan Siegel, one of the pioneers of interpersonal neurobiology, explains that naming an emotion calms the limbic system. In other words, expression literally soothes the brain. Louise Hay taught, you can't clean the house if you don't see the dirt. Expression is seeing the dirt, the shadow, the ache, the fear. Not to shame it, but to release it. But here's where the path splits. and most people get lost. There are two kinds of expression. 1. Reactive expression, the explosion of unprocessed emotion. This is when the emotion speaks for you, instead of through you. Carl Rogers wrote about this in his theory of incongruence. When your inner world conflicts with your outer behavior, your system becomes chaotic and reactive. Reactive expression happens when you're overwhelmed, triggered, in survival mode, acting from past wounds, speaking before feeling. It may look like truth, but it's actually a nervous system discharge. This kind of expression feels powerful for a moment, but it rarely brings clarity. It often creates more pain, more conflict, more confusion. It's expression without awareness. It's the pain body speaking, not the person. 2. Conscious expression, the release that leads to insight. Neuroscientist Dr. Dan Siegel teaches that when we express emotion consciously, speaking from the prefrontal cortex rather than the limbic system, we transform raw emotional charge into something the brain can organize, integrate, and understand. Conscious expression moves us out of reactivity and into regulation. It doesn't amplify the feeling, it processes it. It turns emotional chaos into emotional clarity, shifting the nervous system from fight or flight into grounded presence. This is the kind of expression that heals instead of harms, reveals instead of repeats, and opens the door to insight rather than recreating the same old patterns. This is expression with awareness, breath, space, witnessing, responsibility, truth, compassion. This is the kind of expression that heals, opens, liberates, discharges pressure without creating chaos. Conscious expression moves with the emotion, not against it. It honors the feeling without drowning in the story. But here's the great truth most people miss. Expression is powerful. Expression is necessary. But expression is not the final step. Why? Because you can express a story and still be ruled by it. You can talk about an old wound and still carry its weight. You can cry your tears and still hold the grief in your chest. Dr. Joe Dispenza says, you can't create a new future while holding on to the emotions of the past. Expression releases the pressure, but not always the program. You can be fluent in your pain and still imprisoned by it. You can be honest and still not be free. You can express yourself all day and still not evolve. Because expression moves emotion out, but it doesn't always move you forward. Expression clears the doorway, but transmutation is what takes you through it. Expression is the exhale. Transmutation is the elevation. Expression opens the heart. Transmutation rewrites the pattern. Expression lets the energy speak. Transmutation lets the energy become something higher. This is the difference between healing and transformation. And this is the doorway your soul is standing at right now. The third path, transmutation, your true power. Most people spend their entire lives caught between two options, push it down or let it explode. But mystics, neuroscientists, philosophers, and trauma specialists all agree. There is a third path, a higher path, the path of emotional alchemy. The ancient Hermeticists called it transmutation, the art of turning dense energy into refined energy, lead into gold, pain into wisdom, reaction into consciousness. Carl Jung said, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. Transmutation is exactly that, bringing the unconscious energy up, holding it in awareness, and transforming it into something higher. Dr. Joe Dispenza explains that when you change the energy, you change the emotion. And when you change the emotion, you change the personal reality. Meaning, if you change how the energy moves in your body, you literally change who you become. Neuroscientist Dr. Lisa Feldman Barrett shows that emotions are not fixed reactions. They are constructed experiences, which means they can be reconstructed, rewritten, repatterned. This is not spiritual fluff. This is neuroscience. The Buddhists taught this thousands of years ago. Staying present with a feeling without feeding it liberates the mind. Modern trauma therapy echoes the same truth. Dr. Peter Levine, founder of somatic experiencing, a body-oriented approach to healing trauma, teaches, when we allow the energy of an emotion to complete its natural cycle, the system resets. In other words, allowing the body to physically release this trapped energy through natural responses like shaking, trembling, or crying allows the nervous system to regulate and return to a state of balance. Gregg Braden's research shows that the heart's electromagnetic field is strong enough to influence the brain, the body, and even the space around us. When we shift our emotional energy, we shift our magnetic field. We shift our reality. This isn't just self-help. It's neuroscience. It's psychology. It's biology. It's physics. It's ancient wisdom and modern research finally saying the same thing. Your emotional energy is transformable. And here is the key insight that changes everything. Transmutation is not the suppression of emotion. It is not the explosion of emotion. It is the evolution of emotion. It's the moment you stop asking, "What is wrong with me for feeling this?" And you start asking, "What is this energy trying to become?" Because every emotion carries a higher form inside it. Fear carries intuition. Anger carries boundaries. Sadness carries depth. Shame carries self-forgiveness. Anxiety carries preparation and potential. Grief carries love. Transmutation is the art of revealing the message behind the emotion, then elevating the energy into the form it was always meant to take. The Hermetic principle of polarity teaches that every emotion exists on a spectrum, not as good or bad, but as different degrees of the same energy. Fear and courage, anger and clarity, grief and love. They are not opposites, they are gradients. Mastery isn't about eliminating the emotion, but shifting it to a higher expression along that spectrum. This is emotional alchemy. It's what Alan Watts meant when he said, "You are the universe experiencing itself." Your emotions are not obstacles. They are part of your evolution. It's what Viktor Frankl meant when he taught, between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose. Transmutation happens in that space. As the Tao Te Ching teaches, nothing in the world is softer and weaker than water, yet nothing surpasses it in overcoming the hard and strong. Emotion transforms the same way, not through force, but through conscious softness, through allowing the energy to shift. Rather than resisting it, transmutation is embracing the energy without becoming the story, feeling the emotion without collapsing into identity, allowing the charge without letting it take the wheel. It is presence, breath, awareness, and intention. It is the conscious directing of emotional energy. It is the turning point where your past stops running your life, because the energy that once ruled you now serves you. Transmutation is the moment the wound becomes wisdom. The trigger becomes your lead to gold. The emotion becomes evolution. It's not bypassing. It's embodiment. It's empowerment. It's the mastery you came here for. This is how you become the alchemist of your own nervous system, the architect of your own frequency, the creator of your own reality. Because once you learn to transmute emotion, you are no longer trapped in the old survival cycle. You rise above it, and from that place, life meets you differently. Real-life application: how to transmute like a mystic. This is the practical transmutation path used in Hermetic traditions, somatics, Tolle's presence work, and Dispenza's energy mechanics. 1. Pause the story. Don't ask, "Why am I feeling this?" Ask, "Where is it in my body?" This disconnects the mind from the emotional narrative. 2. Feel the raw sensation. Just the energy, no language, no judgment, no identity. Toll. Give the emotion space. 3. Breathe into the sensation. Slow breath. Long exhale. This calms the nervous system and helps to connect with your heart. This is Braden's heart coherence. Slow breath can move you to heart awareness, which can lead to compassion. 4. Let it peak and dissolve. Every emotion moves like a wave. It rises, crests, and falls. This is the Hermetic principle of rhythm. All energy follows a natural cycle when we don't interfere. When you let the wave complete itself, the charge dissolves, and the body returns to balance. 5. Reassign the energy. Once the charge dissolves, ask, what is the highest expression of this energy? Anger becomes boundaries. Fear reveals intuition. Sadness opens depth. Anxiety awakens preparation. Triggers point to unconscious healing. Shame softens into self-forgiveness. Grief expands into deeper love. This is alchemy. This is evolution. This is spiritual adulthood. Why this matters: the emotional alchemy of a new earth. Because we are not here to suppress our humanity. We are not here to be ruled by our emotions either. We are here to master energy. Neil Donald Walsh says, "Your purpose is to recreate yourself anew, in the next grandest version of the greatest vision you ever held about who you are." You can't do that with suppression. You can't do that with reactivity. You do it with alchemy, transmutation, conscious choice, energetic sovereignty. This is how you shift your timeline. This is how you change your destiny. This is how you transcend your conditioning. This is how you become the architect of your life. Subscribe for more educational content that helps to raise our collective consciousness. Until next time.